Item number 5 is a public hearing to consider use permit for property located at 6112 Manning Avenue. I'm going to ask the clerk to perform the second reading on this, please.
An ordinance granting a conditional use permit subject to certain conditions to operate a residential care facility on property in the low-density residential R1 district of property located at 6112 Manning Avenue.
I'm going to reopen the public hearing at this time. Would anyone on the board like to share any ex parte communication they may have had since the last meeting on this subject? None apparent. Okay.
Mr. Mayor.
Oops, Mr. Van Buskirk.
I did speak to the owner of the facility and one of the ladies that works at the facility. That will not have any bearing on my vote regarding the matter.
Thanks, sir. Mr. Benson, it's yours for explanation by staff.
Just very briefly, the only new information we have for you since your last meeting is we received 2 additional letters of support, one from Karen Linger and one from Jane Appling. Both in those copies of those letters of support you should have found in front of your seats this evening. Those just arrived today via email. So that's all I have. I'd be happy to answer any questions. The applicant is here as well.
Any question of Mr. Benson before we go to the applicant? Okay. Would the applicant like to make another presentation on this subject? Evening.
Good evening. We don't have any new information. We're just requesting that the permit be granted.
Okay. Questions of the applicant, Mr. Van Buskirk?
I did ask a question last week. I believe you said there were 6 bedrooms. Is that correct in the facility?
Yes, sir.
And how many bathrooms do you have? I'm just curious.
There's 4.
4. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Any other questions of the applicant? Okay, we're going to move to public comment. Thank you. You may be coming back up here again. Would anyone in the audience like to address the board on this particular matter at this time? Once, twice, Andy?
Good evening again. Excuse me. I had a head injury back in 1990, and I was a client of a facility very similar to this, except it was for rehabilitation of head injured people. And they worked quite well. I didn't really enjoy my time there, but being a client there, the goal of it was to rehabilitate people so they could go back in the community. Obviously, that's not the intent here, but it's still a good program. Keeps these people together. They can function as a family. And I do feel it increases the property value in the area, because I'd rather have a facility like this as my neighbor rather than a daycare or a neighbor for a swimming pool or a bunch of screaming kids with playgrounds. I do feel it's an enhancement to the community. It's an enhancement to Raytown also. Thank you.
Thank you, Andy. Anyone else in the audience that would like to talk to the board? Okay, once, twice, 3 times. We're moving on. Close the public hearing, and we'll go to board discussion or additional questions of staff.
Motion to approve.
Wow.
Second.
That was close. I'm going to give the motion to Mr. Azier, and I'm going to give the second to Mr. Kramer for a good try there. Second for effort. So we got a motion and a second to approve item 5A. Discussion on the motion. Ms. Nelson.
I wanted to say that been very impressed with the support letters. I don't think I've ever, in the 12 years, ever seen so many support letters for one group home or just a home business, any type thing like that. And I think having this helps the Board of Aldermen because it gives us insight into what the establishment is, and that it's not just one person saying this, but it's quite a number of individuals that have supported you, not only now but throughout the years, and that's quite commendable.
Mr. Mr. Van Buskirk.
I just wanted to say that, in our last meeting, there was a rather large group of the residents from the facility that were here. They spoke. In fact, they stayed for most of the meeting, or maybe all of the meeting. And just wanted to make a comment. I was very impressed with the conduct of that group. Sometimes we have groups come before us for various reasons and of citizens, and they were exemplary in their what they had to say and their demeanor last week, and I appreciate that. Thank you.
Mr. Kramer.
Yeah, and myself, I'm impressed with what you guys have done. I've gone around in the neighborhood and knocked on doors and talked to people, and people are very supportive of what you do there. You never quite know with these type of facilities what you're going to get into, but it's been very impressive. As the grandfather of an autistic child, I know how important that these type of care facilities are when family's not available. And in our case, we've got family, a good supporting family, and that's not always the case with these children. So it sounds like you guys are doing a great job. So thank you.
Excellent. No further comments? Call the vote, please.
Alderman Azier?
Yes.
Alderman Kramer?
Yes.
Alderman White?
Yes.
Alderman Melson?
Yes.
Alderman Ertz?
Yes.
Alderman Van Buskirk?
Yes.
Alderman Lightfoot?
Yes.
Alderman Mock?
Yes.
Thank you. Go forth, continue to do good things. Be safe. Thank you, ma'am. Thanks to the group. Item number 6 is a public hearing to consider a text amendment to the Crescent Creek Design Manual. I'm going to ask the clerk to perform the second reading on that, please.
An ordinance granting an amendment to the Crescent Creek Design Manual for lots 102 and 103 in the Crescent Creek subdivision and amending rezoning ordinance number 4922-03 and 5796-04, all in accordance with the provisions of the comprehensive zoning regulations for the city of Raytown, Missouri.
I'm going to reopen the public hearing at this time and again ask if anyone on the board has any ex parte communication on this subject since the last meeting. None appearing. Mr. Benson, further explanation of the application, please.
This application specifically relates to the width of driveways as specified in the Crescent Creek Design Manual. As the city clerk noted, it applies to 2 lots, lots 102 and 103 only. Be happy to answer any questions that there may be.
Questions, Mr. Benson?
Make a motion to approve.
We've got a motion to approve. Mr. Mock has the second. We have not closed the public hearing. So before Mr. Azier reminds me of that, I've got to go through some motions here. We've got to follow procedure. Okay, I do not see Mr. Delaney with us tonight. Is there anyone representing the applicant that would like to make a presentation? Okay, the applicant is not present. Would anyone in the audience like to address the board on this particular subject in the line of public comment? Andy.
I think that since the motion's already been made and seconded, it's probably a moot matter. But I
You never
really
know.
question, why does the zoning allow for such a narrow driveway? That should not be allowed. A wide driveway for 2 cars should be required. Because in this weather, it's really unsafe trying to get a car in and out of a driveway like that. Also, they have this pillared garage, 2 doors for 2 cars. I have a difficult time getting a car through those narrow doors. And a 2-car garage should require a 16-foot door, not 2 8-foot doors, 9-foot doors. That's really unsafe. This would definitely be a safety improvement. I feel it should be. Thank you.
Thank you, Andy. Anyone else in the audience that would like to address the board? Okay, I'm going to dispense with public comment, and I'm going to ask if there's a motion by chance on this subject. Ms. Melson?
I would make a motion to
Is there a second, Mr. Mock, by chance? All right, so we've got a motion and a second. We did close the public hearing. We now have a motion and a second. Just stay with me, Mr. Willers. We're into board discussion, and first up on my left seems to be, whoops. Is there any discussion? Any discussion before we vote? Once? Twice? Call the vote, please.
Alderman Melson.
Yes.
Alderman Mock.
Oh, yeah.
Alderman Ertz.
Yes.
Alderman White.
Yes.
Alderman Purdue. He's out. Alderman Azier.
Yes.
Alderman Van Buskirk.
Yes.
Alderman Kramer.
Yes.
Alderman Lightfoot.
Yes.
I think what's throwing us off is this is the off night for a council meeting, so we're not really in the spirit. Motion passes. We'll move on with life. Closed session. Notice is hereby given that the mayor and board of aldermen may conduct a closed session pursuant to the following statutory provisions. Paragraph 610.021, subparagraph 3, hiring, firing, disciplining, or promoting of particular employees by a public governmental body when personal information relating to the performance or merit of an individual employee is discussed or recorded, and or paragraph 610.021, subparagraph 13, individually identifiable personnel records, performance ratings, or records pertaining to employees or applicants for employment. Is there a motion to go to closed session? We've got a motion made by Mr. Kramer, second by Mr. Azier to go to closed session. I'm going to ask the clerk to call the vote on that, please.
Alderman Kramer.
Yes.
Alderman Azier.
Yes.
Alderman Mock.
Yes.
Alderman Lightfoot.
Yes.
Alderman Melson.
Yes.
Alderman Van Buskirk.
Yes.
Alderman White. Yes. Alderman Ertz.
Yes.